Hello, everybody, and welcome to this author talk. I am Miss Nicole with Bloomfield Public Library, and I am very excited to have some of our young local Bloomfield authors with us to talk about their new book, which we have in our library. It is called, oh, I'm all blurry, you can't see, The Hidden
Wait,
World.
we got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The Hidden World of Earthworms. And we're going to learn all about how Yonatan and Theo created their book, and we're going to hear about their process, and we'll even get a little reading from the book itself. So first, I want us to get a chance to hear a little bit about the authors. So we have Yonatan Axelrad on the right, and we have Theo Ostman-Sofocli. Did I say that right, Theo?
Yeah,
So perfect. So some of you may remember that Yonatan already has a book that we have put in our library collection on tardigrades. That was our previous author talk with him. And now he has co-wrote this book. So first, let's start with Yonatan. Yonatan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Yonatan Axelrad, and I'm in sixth grade, and I'm really interested in all these like small, interesting animals, such as the tardigrade or earthworms. But we, I mean, it's a really cool book, and I think you should probably read it, like the viewers should.
I can concur. I've read it and it's very good. I would highly recommend it. So Theo, now this is our first time talking to you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. You know, what grade are you in? Have you written anything else before the Earthworm book?
All right. So yeah, I'm also in sixth grade. I haven't written a book before. It's my first one. Yeah, we both like earthworms, of course. And yeah, a lot of animals we like.
So my question to you is, before we even get to, we'll get to the reading from the book later, but one of my questions is, how did you decide you wanted to do uh a book about earthworms?
Well,
Why earthworms?
we were going to the library, and originally, I don't know if you remember, but we were going to do a project about ancient Egypt,
Yes, I do
um,
remember that.
which we did do, but it was on a different platform and it wasn't in book form. So yeah, and we went to the library and we're like, there's too many books about ancient Egypt. So we looked for things that we looked for like animals that we knew, but we didn't know so well, and that there weren't a lot of other books about them, so it could be unique. And we found the earthworm, and we sort of like got interested in earthworms because ironically we feed them to turtles over at the nature center.
Did not know
So
that turtles eat earthworms, by the way. Ooh.
yeah,
Yeah, they love it.
favorite snack.
Favorite snack? That's their favorite
Favorite.
snack?
Probably.
Yeah.
Is it lots of
Um,
turtles or just a certain kind of turtle?
I'm not sure, but
I mean, most of them are eastern box turtles.
yeah.
That's most of them.
Oh.
So anyway, we saw that they are very like squirmy, and there are other types of worms. So yeah, we got sort of interested in them, and we learned that they have many superpowers.
Ooh. And we're going to hear a little bit about some of the earthworm superpowers in just a little bit. I was fascinated. I did not know this much about earthworms. And I think what you guys did, the approach you took was really smart, because I will say that I have had kids come to me at the library before asking for books about earthworms, and there really wasn't a lot out there. There really wasn't a lot out there. So there's always somebody who wants to do a project on something like earthworms. And so I think it's great that you guys have added to an area, content area that didn't have a lot of information. And we'll learn a little later how you guys gathered your information. But why don't we start right in with sharing some stuff from the book so our viewers can get a feel for some of this information that we have about the earthworms. All right, and I actually, just so the viewers know, I asked, it's a slightly longer book, so we're not going to read the whole book, but I asked Yonatan and Theo to pick out a couple of sections that they wanted to read out loud to us. So we're going to get a little bit from the introduction, chapter 1. We are going to get a little bit from chapter 4, I believe. And then there's a fun fact section, which we'll also hear about. So I've shared my screen so everybody can follow along as Yonatan and Theo are reading to us. And this is the cover of their book. They're going to tell us also a little bit about the art, because this is original artwork on the cover too. So I'm going to let Yonatan and Theo take it away.
Hidden World of Earthworms by Theo Ostman-Sofocli and Yonatan Axelrad. Chapter 1, Introduction. Did you know that there's an animal that has 5 hearts, and that there's probably one under you right now? This funny-looking animal is the earthworm. Earthworms do not have ears, eyes, lungs, or noses. They live mostly underground and are squirmy and slimy. We love earthworms. We think they're amazing little guys. Do you like earthworms? Do you think they're interesting? Well, not everyone thinks that they're great. For a long time, earthworms were thought of as pests, mostly in the mid-1800s, had spread diseases and destroyed plants. Until Charles Darwin devoted 50 years of his life to studying earthworms. His results? Earthworms are not pests and actually help soil and plants. Suddenly, earthworms were being praised as farmers' best friends and being shipped around the world to help gardeners and plants everywhere. We'll find out if that was a good decision a little later in the book. This book will make you fall in love with earthworms because of all the amazing facts you're about to read. And now, let's dive underground to learn all about earthworms.
Okay. Behavior and diet. Behavior. Earthworms use their muscles and shape to burrow through the soil easily. Sometimes at night, after rain, they will come out of underground to look for food, since at night there are fewer predators. Earthworms do not sleep, but they do have quiescent periods that last a few months. Diet. Earthworms are always happy to eat dead leaves, decaying plant matter, and other rotten stuff. Some people think that earthworms only eat pointy leaves. That is almost true. Scientists have discovered worms will eat any type of leaves, they do not just like certain types of leaves of the chemicals inside them. However, epigeic earthworms that live in the leaf litter eat decaying things, so you can find them eating anything from a log to a potato. You might think earthworms don't eat much, so you'll be surprised to learn that in ideal conditions, red wigglers can eat up to half their body weight every day. That's a lot of food.
Fun fact. Earthworms have 5 hearts. That's 4 more than you.
They are blind and deaf, but they can still sense their environment.
It's great for the soil. Is a fancy word for earthworm poop.
Worms come out after rain so they can breathe and move better.
A single worm can have 100 babies. Not at once, though.
1 million earthworms can live under the soil of one park.
The longest earthworm was 21 feet long.
The great global earthworm races have taken place in Canada, Japan, India, and Mexico.
Scientists estimate that all earthworms were introduced by humans into North America, except for one type that is native.
Charles Darwin studied earthworms for 50 years.
Earthworms built an antifreeze system so they don't freeze in winter.
Earthworms cannot burrow through concrete, but they can tunnel through grout and make their way through cracks between concrete slabs.
All right. That was some amazing stuff, especially the part with the fun facts. There were some fun facts there that I was like, what? Like the longest earthworm was how big? 21 feet? Was it
Yeah,
21 feet?
I,
What do you,
I can tell you some details about that because I researched that because I was just like, no way.
Yeah, it's
yes,
crazy.
tell me about the 21 foot long earthworm because I'm like,
I'm pretty sure it was in Europe. And
We're not sure, but
well, sure that it was in Europe. And two people were driving and they found it on the road and they picked it up with two sticks and they just like threw it into the forest. So
they just threw it into the forest?
yeah,
What?
and to make the story even like more crazy, they were on their way to a palace.
They were
Yeah,
on their way to a palace?
yeah. I don't know if it's still there or anything, but I'm pretty sure that's how the story went. That's the legend.
I honestly, I think that if I saw a 21 foot long anything, I would be like, avert eyes, keep going.
Yeah,
I'm
just
like, I don't,
yeah,
that's nature being nature. I don't
yeah,
know what that is, but I'm just
leave
gonna
it
ignore
alone.
it. Leave it alone, right? It's doing its thing. And then
yeah.
another fact that I was like, that's just crazy was when you said that there in some parks there might be up to like 1 million worms under our feet. That is it.
Yeah,
That is crazy that there are that many worms under the ground.
yeah, a lot of earthworms.
Um, so one thing that I also love animals a lot and I like reading about them and studying them and I'm curious to know if there are any worm species that are endangered. Are there any worms that because I know some bees are endangered and have been threatened by humans and there are some butterflies that are having trouble because of the way humans are changing the environment. Do you know of any worms that are endangered or in
I'm
trouble?
not sure completely. I don't know of any. There are probably some. I don't really know of any.
Yeah.
Well, because I know. Well, here's another question for you. Um, so when at my house, whenever there's a big rain, I always see worms in my driveway. Are they a certain kind of earthworm? Do most of us see a certain kind of earthworm most of the time, or is it a lot of different kinds that we see and we don't even realize we're seeing different kinds of worms?
Well, here's basically, I don't know, sort of a guide to how to know which type of earthworm it is, if it's good or bad. If you want, viewers can like, I don't know, take notes if they want, if they ever want to go outside and be like, huh, should I save this one or just let it be on the sidewalk?
So
So basically, if you've got to pick it up, which might be gross for some people, but you sort of have to, or I it works less well, or yeah, I think
not as
it's
good.
like poke it with a stick and see what it does. But if you pick it up, if it jumps around in your hand, that means it's an invasive and bad for the environment Asian jumping worm. And if it just sort of lies there playing dead, that also probably means it's an invasive Asian jumping worm.
Because they can play dead. Um, yeah, to try to avoid being eaten.
Yeah,
Sneaky.
Um,
They're sneaky. Oh, that's
yeah.
my favorite. That's my least kind of like my least favorite kind of worm, a sneaky worm.
But if they don't, and they don't feel very muscular, if it feels like muscular and not very squishy, that sounds weird. But if it is muscular, then you can probably say that it's an Asian jumping worm, but you shouldn't say it just yet. There's a few other tests.
And that you guys do detail in your book some
yeah,
good
Yeah,
differences
a little
between
bit.
and
Yeah.
we focus on the jumping worms a little bit. So
yeah.
people will have to take out the book to get some really
So
intense
just a
information.
quick guide. If it jumps or plays dead, it's an Asian jumping worm, and it is just a little like if it's dark colored compared to normal like pink lightish worms, then it's probably a good worm and you should put it in your compost bin if you have one, or just plop it back in the grass. So yeah.
Because
Yeah.
worms like to stay moist, right? Like they don't want to be
Yeah.
dry.
And that's why when it rains, they come out because they want to, for two reasons. They want to get nice and moist, and they also want to aerate their body because in the soil it's all dense.
Mm.
So yeah.
So Theo, let me ask you a question specifically because when Yonatan first brought me your book, and I was asking him what some of his favorite parts of the book were, if he had any favorite images, he pointed at one of the pictures that you had drawn and said that that was one of his favorite things in the book. Tell me a little bit about your artwork. Is that one of your favorite parts of the book? The when you were putting stuff together was doing the artwork, or did you like it as much as doing the research?
So yeah, I do like the artwork in the book. There's quite a bit.
There is.
Uh,
It's fun. It's fun too. You guys have a
yeah.
lot of humor in your book, which I love.
So I really like all the artwork. Well, we both drew some of it. The one of them I really like is the life cycle. I think
Mm.
that turned out really nice. And also the anatomy of the worm, that
Here,
picture.
here's a life cycle, just showing you there.
Yes.
That one.
And it was
That
so
one,
clear.
yeah, that
The
was
way you
really
guys did it was
nice.
so clear and easy to understand. It was really terrific.
Yeah. Yeah, there's more, a lot more. Wait.
Find the anatomy. You keep talking. Meanwhile,
Teamwork at its best.
Yeah, so there's also the one of like a decomposing apple. It's
Oh,
kind
I
of
do
like
remember that one. I remember that one.
yeah, it's kind of like a
there.
time
Here,
lapse.
I found it. I found it. There, the internal anatomy.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
that was such a good
Oh yeah.
diagram.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I'll find the
Uh,
the decomposing apple. I saw that.
And all of the photographs in the book were photographs that you guys
yeah.
took when you were doing your research, right? From your own backyard excavations, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we collected the worms and yeah, we just took pictures inside.
And then here's the decomposing apple one.
That's
There.
great.
Yeah.
I did not act, and interestingly, I did not realize earthworms eat the kinds of things that they eat. I don't know what I thought
Yeah.
earthworms eat, but I didn't realize they could possibly eat a potato, right? I just didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't even think
I
about
think
that.
they thing I could be it could shake earthworms. Like we said earlier, it could be eating anything. Basically anything that could decompose, it could be eating. So it could be eating, for all we know,
Anything rotting, basically.
something rotting,
Wow.
already decomposed. Yeah.
Ugh. Ugh. I guess that somebody needs, right? But that's the circle of life, right?
Yeah,
Somebody,
they clean up the rotting things.
Yeah.
yep. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Also do that, sort of like vultures and
Yep.
little bacteria, but they help out a ton with that. Yeah. Yeah.
Now here's another question I have for you guys because they're in adult writing too. There are a lot of books that are co-written by authors, more than one author. So I'm curious to know how you guys divided the work. Did you do everything equally? Did one of you focus more on one thing and one of you focus more on the other thing? I'm just curious how you guys decided who did what, or was it really like 100% a teamwork project where you both did everything equally?
Um, I mean, we both did some parts. We both wrote a few parts. We both did the drawings. Um, yeah, I mean, we weren't like someone writes this chapter, the other person writes this chapter. I mean, it was probably kind of equal. I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
We were basically like, you want to do that one and I'll do this one? Yeah, sure. Like,
And then did you guys have, because I think a lot of like team writing projects, like they help with editing too. So if Yonatan, if you wrote a chapter, did Theo then read it and possibly give you some feedback and some edits?
Some of the chapters, yeah, but not all of them because basically our mom was the editor.
Well,
Yeah,
We edited a
moms are
little
good at
bit, but
yeah.
moms are very good at that. So that's
Yeah.
smart. So one of the things I also wanted to talk to both of you about or highlight for our viewers is the fact that you guys got your information from a lot of different sources. And there is a resource list at the back of the book. And you have a variety of books. So I'm curious to know if you had a favorite book resource that you might want to point out to viewers, but also I noticed that there were several, not just one, several university professors that you talked to. And I'm curious how you might have found out about them and how you communicated with them. Was it by letter or did you talk to them on the phone? So just tell us a little bit about how you did the research itself and how you got your information.
Well, we had a lot of professors, and I'm actually gonna and scientists. I'm gonna tell you their names.
in the book.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, the books that we that we there
Over there.
that we had. Yeah, we really liked the Garden Wigglers book, called Garden Wigglers, Earthworms in Your Backyard by Nancy Lowen. So yeah, that was a good
Those
one.
were some nice books.
Yeah, and then
And the
the
people we talked to,
that people contacted um was Dr. Gerrit Engs. He's a soil scientist from the German Center for Integrative Biodiversity Research. Here at the
How did you talk to him? Did you write to him or did you email him or
we we emailed him, but all the people.
So yeah, we emailed a lot of people. A lot of them didn't answer, but these
People
people.
that helped us out
Yeah.
in the research.
and there was a nice lot there was like more than one professor
Yes,
even.
there is.
Yep.
Got
We've got a vermicompost expert.
oh,
Uh,
also known as someone who breeds worms for composting.
yeah,
His name.
And there is a section in your for just so viewers know, there is a section in your book where you go into great detail about vermicomposting and how you might be
yeah,
able to start it up yourself, right? If you wanted to try
yeah.
it out in your own at your own yard.
Try that. Oh, she should really try that. It's fun, and we've done it, and yeah.
Okay.
Person that is the vermicompost expert is Mr. Zach Brooks from the Arizona Worm Farm in Phoenix, Arizona.
And next person, Dr. John Warren Reynolds. He is a worm scientist.
A worm expert scientist. Yeah.
The name for that is very hard to pronounce. Not even gonna try.
I'm gonna try for fun
Um,
because I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Oligocatology.
And that's somebody who studies worms. That's the term for somebody who studies worms.
Yeah.
earthworm, yeah.
I did not know that, by the way, that people professionally choose to study worms. I did not know that was a thing. Like somebody went to school somewhere to study worms.
Yeah.
On Google, worm experts, and I found that.
Wow.
He was one of the nicest people, Dr. John Warren Reynolds. He was very nice. And then Adrian Rackett, Dr. Adrian Wackett, from this, he's a soil scientist, Stanford University, California, USA. Well, yeah.
And then, yeah.
And then we have a local
Naturalist that we know.
Yeah.
And I think you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there was also somebody listed from Roaring Brook Nature Center, right? And that's
Yes.
something local to us in Connecticut. So this is something that a place that many viewers have probably already visited. But that I thought that was fantastic too, that we have people with this kind of knowledge at something like Roaring Brook Nature Center too.
Yep. Miss Marjorie Winters, a naturalist and educator from the Roaring Brook Nature Center in Canton, Connecticut.
Yes.
And special thanks to her for reviewing our work and for the important information. Um, yeah, she's very she hates jumping worms, like complete, like out of all the people I ever know, which most people don't know about jumping worms or worms
She hates them the most.
Yeah.
Well, and I will point this out to people. I forgot to mention it before, but you guys had actually put a couple of QR codes in your book, and one of them actually links to a video of a jumping worm. So be sure not to miss out on those because you can actually see a jumping worm in action. And when I saw the video myself, I said, I have seen those before. They're thinner, they're smaller, they're little wriggly things, and they wiggle around right? Isn't that the jumping worm?
There's only one thing, not all of them are small. If you see a big one jumping and squirming around a lot, that's also a jumping worm.
Yeah, they can just be the same size as normal earthworms.
Bigger.
Yeah.
You found
big one.
Big one.
Oh, ooh. And see, I might have sometimes seen them bigger ones and thought, oh, somebody must have stepped on it and maybe it's like dying or something and that's why it's wriggling around. But it was probably actually a jumping worm. It was probably actually a jumping worm.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, there's special thanks for the font that we used, Miss Kimberly Gesling. So
But
yeah.
I think that's an interesting thing to note too, because we have a lot of viewers, including kids your age, who want to become published authors, who want to create books. And there's a lot of things that go into that. You guys didn't just take a couple books out of the library for information, although that's a good starting point. You didn't just Google something. You talked to a lot of experts, right? You looked for people who could give you information. And there are things to consider when you're doing a book, like the font style, like how do you want the words to look on the page? And one of the things that I often tell people, and again, I don't know if it'll show because I've got my camera blanked out here, but yeah, there we go. But in a library, it's very difficult for us if we're shelving books and they don't have the title on the spine. And if you're self-publishing or creating your own books, that's a very important thing for a library to have. Because if you're shelving that book with a lot of other books, you want to be able to see that title on the spine. And we've sometimes had to add that after the fact, just to try and help people find a book. So there's a lot of things to think about when you're putting together a book.
Yeah, so I think the next time, like you said, someone comes to you and says, hey, do you have any books about earthworms? This will be the first one you'll suggest.
It will. It totally will be that.
Yeah.
By the way, I've kept our library copy a little longer than I should have because I knew we were going to be talking. So I have several people I know of who are like, "Where's the earthworm book?" And I'm like, "I'll be returning it soon." So I've kept it a little longer than I should have. So it is in hot demand at the moment. People are waiting on it from me, but I'm like, I need it a little longer.
We looked last Friday and it said on hold. So
yes, so somebody's waiting on it.
Yeah.
So is there anything that that you guys want to like a specific thing that was one of your favorite things about earthworms? Anything specifically you guys want to highlight for readers? Just as I'm just curious. I get curious about these things. Just anything that was like your favorite fact that you learned.
I mean, I liked all the fun facts. There's a lot of cool facts in there, like the long earthworm, 20 feet and 21 feet long.
And I don't know what are earthworm races? Didn't you have a fact in there about earthworm races? Like what are you doing with it? How are you racing an earthworm?
So that was
Dr. John Reynolds, I'm pretty sure.
He posts those. Okay.
Yeah, so
So they're on. So if we could we could Google like earthworm races, and they would come up on Google as videos.
Maybe.
I'm not sure because he sent us a PDF of like the rules and everything. So yeah, we're hoping it'll come to like I don't know, like New York or Connecticut one day. And then so basically the rules are you just find any random worm and you give it a name and a number and you're basically in to the game. Yeah.
Holy moly! Well, what if do only certain kind of earthworms get to enter?
I'm not sure. I don't really know all the rules, but I know that you have to give it a name and a number.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! I actually I would probably pay a ticket to see that happen because I'm just
I
really curious about how an earthworm race takes place.
would pay to put a worm into the yeah,
Race.
yeah.
Do you already have a name picked out? Like, what would you call your earthworm?
Squirmy? I don't know.
I'm just curious. And then I always like to ask this question too. Because last time we had talked, I knew you were going to be looking into ancient Egypt, and we heard from you earlier how that sort of panned out. So do you guys have anything on the horizon in terms of where you want to go next with a book?
Um, definitely.
Yes. So we're thinking of animals to do the next book on. We're thinking of maybe frogs
Ooh.
as an idea, or maybe slugs or salamanders, but right now we're thinking frogs.
Yeah, like frogs and toads ish. Yeah.
Ooh, very interesting. And I know we actually have we have books in the library that talk about both together because there are differences between frogs and toads that you know things that people can identify that you know you think oh it looks like one and the same. Um, but I always feel, you know, we were in your book, you talk about how lots of predators eat worms, and I always feel I'm always surprised by how many things eat frogs too. You know, I think I stumbled on a garter snake once that was consuming a frog, and I was like, oh my gosh. He was literally, it was half in, half out of his mouth, a garter snake
Wow.
eating a frog. It was a small frog, but still, it was a frog. I do have one last question for you both, because we have a lot of people who want to be authors. How did you actually publish your book? How did you self-publish? What was your source for creating your book? Where did you do the printing and the you don't have to give us the big details, but where might somebody go to actually create the actual physical book?
Well, we printed the pages and we gave them, I think, I'm not sure. You can ask my mom more because I'm not 100% sure. But I think we printed the book and gave it to Barnes and Nobles, and they sort of made the hardcover and like the actual print and the spine and everything. So yeah, Barnes and Nobles were pretty good and for pretty cheap.
That's good. I mean, and they did a very, you know, and this is from a librarian. The quality is very good. So I was really impressed by how the quality of the book too. So it was a really nice job. You guys both did a terrific job on this book, and I know kids are going to look forward to reading to it. It's going to go right in our worm section. Unfortunately, not next to the Darwin book, but because that's in the biography section. The Darwin
Yeah.
studying worms pooping for 50 years.
Yeah, the I think it was called
Something worm poop spectacular, something
yeah,
like
the
that.
Darwin Super Pooping Worm Spectacular.
It was a fantastic book. But there's so many, this is such a great book, and you guys should both feel really proud about what you do, and we happily have it in our collection. We are always looking forward to your next book, and I would definitely highly recommend this one to our viewers and our readers. And any final words from the both of you before we go?
I don't know. Bye.
No, that's great. We've really enjoyed I've enjoyed this conversation, and I hope our viewers do too. We learned a lot of things, and I'm hoping people get a chance to look at your book. And again, don't forget they have those cool features in the book too. So there are real photographs of the worms. There are the drawings that you did, and there are QR codes that take you to things like videos. So there's a lot of cool features in this book too, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, you should really try the QR codes.
Yes,
They're,
it
they're
is. It's
really
cool. It's a cool feature. I'm really pleased with it. So thank you both for joining me today, and definitely let me know the next time you publish another book,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we will schedule another chat with you, and we'll just keep going on this series. Thank you again for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your day, gentlemen. Happy researching, hopefully about frogs, but I can't wait to see what you guys do next. All right.
Bye.